Hello, this is a demo of DMastro's new release manager. Our goal is to help you achieve DevSecOps, be more efficient, repeatable, and safe while running your database release automation processes and achieve faster time to market. DMastro is approaching the DevSecOps with their specific needs in mind, helping you be more effective and productive while doing development processes and being safer, more repeatable and scalable while dealing with ops. The processes are built based on modern best practices. Changes are tagged, pushed into a repository, if that's Git or Subversion, and then when a package is completed, into an immutable repository, making sure that no changes occur to that package anymore. And then they are released to the different environments while making sure you follow roles, policies, auditing, etc. Development efforts are tagged with standard processes of check-in, check-out, and labels. Security is followed by helping you set rules, control who can make changes in what environments and in what order, auditing to make sure that everything that anybody might be doing is fully traceable, and setting policies to make sure that you can automate changes without the fear of people doing things that are not according to your policies, such as maybe dropping tables, making changes to production at the wrong time of the day, etc., etc. These rules are completely to your control. While dealing with ops, DMastro is running a very safe process, which is very much resembles the process that DBA are doing when doing manual changes. It essentially manages the package, inspects the content of the changes, make sure that the person who wants to issue the changes actually has the ability to do so, make sure that the policies are according to the organizational policy and there's no deviation and no actions that are not allowed. And then it starts a qualification process. Before running the package on the different environments, the DMaster would make sure that the configuration is ready for that release. So essentially making sure that the configuration fits the expected configuration. If it does, the package would run. If for some reason there is a change in the target environment, maybe a hotfix was introduced and a drift occurred and the database does not have the same configuration, DMaster would alert you for that and help you deal with this situation either by rolling back, merging the change back to development, or overriding changes if you think that's the safe thing to do. While doing so, everything is audited, so you keep perfect track of the changes. And while concluding a change, the DMaster would also do a repeat validation process to make sure that the end result of the code you run actually brought you to the configuration that you wanted. New Release Manager is browser-based, meaning it's very easy to implement and use. A lot of efforts have gone into simplifying tasks and making sure that best practices and scenarios that customers are practicing are bundled into very simplistic actions. So to help quicker onboarding and easier usage of the product. An example of a pipeline is this one: release process, integration environments, QA, and production. DMaster enables you to see exactly what version of the database exists in each environment, so you know what updates still needs to go forward. If any changes occur, you can see that the environment might be drifted, etc. I'll discuss this further during the demo. While performing the changes, DMaster is accumulating statistics to help you work according to DevOps best practices, and essentially what we've done is we collected the best and most interesting scorecards that DevOps experts recommend using, and will automatically measure success rates, improvement over time, and help you actually identify a situation where you might be having many more releases, but you're failing more often. So this is something that, of course, presents a problem. If you're failing less and you're having more releases, actually this is a great thing. And dMaestro would help you measure that over time, also while keeping track over lead time that gets you to issue changes from development to production, or mean time to recovery. If you have issues in production, how much time does it actually take you to review and fix them? This is all available for single projects. You can see one project versus another and essentially analyze your successful projects, maybe identify projects that are less successful, and you can deal with them, and essentially help you measure everything. So if you measure it, you can, of course, improve it. dMaestro helps you manage roles in a very straightforward and simple manner. You can decide what role has access to what environment. So different people might have different roles, different association to different projects. So a person in one project could do a release to QA. On another project, he might not be able to do so and might not even see other projects that are out of his scope. So this is perfectly scalable to any enterprise usage and parallel projects that might be running. I mentioned policies a couple of times. Policies are essentially the rule base that you create on what is safe and what is acceptable in your organization. Some organization would allow you to do certain actions. Others would say it's not safe. So you can create these rules very simplistically and say if you're allowing to drop a table, drop an index, maybe you want to allow someone to rebuild an index, and that's perfectly fine for development, QA, and pre-production, but in production you wouldn't want to do that middle of the day. So that would be safe only for nighttime or weekend. So these rules would automatically enforce the different changes. Everything is, of course, audited, and as always, dMaestro integrates with most of today's release automation tools, with all of them via command line. So essentially, if you're working with Jenkins, Bamboo, TeamCity, CA release automation, CA Atomic, or ZBA Labs, whatever it might be, dMaestro could help you deal with that, as well as connect with the ticketing system like Jira, TFS, etc. So without further ado, let's go into the demo. As you can see, this is again browser-based, so easier rollout to your organization. I'm going to log in, and essentially I can see here a project. That project is one of many. This is one that I have access to, and essentially creating projects is a very easy task. Let's say this is a demo project. Essentially, all I need to do is just say what kind of project is that, what environments are part of that project. I might have two development environments, integration environment, 2 QAs, and then I need to roll it out to 3 production sites. So essentially, as soon as I create that process, a pipeline is being built for me. All I need to do is just allocate the specific servers to specific environments, and once I assign them, that's all I need to do in order to start running. So going back to a project that I'm already working with, we'll be able to see some interesting information. First of all, we can see that we have 2 development environments. We have integration environment, which would be what we treat as release candidates. We have then QA environments and production. As you can see, each environment has a tag for what's already released, and these are essentially packages which are the base for what we're pushing forward. Packages can be created by dMaestro Teamwork Build Engine. Packages can be created by your developers, by your DBAs. Packages can also be created by subcontractors, just give you the results of their efforts. All of these, either working with DMSRO's version control or without, are perfectly supported, so you can have a very simple end-to-end process. Let me do a short process starting with development. This is not mandatory. I can, of course, skip it, and I'll show that process in a minute. And let's say I need to introduce a change. I have to check out that object. If I'm not checking it out, I won't be able to edit it, and I won't be able to introduce a change. And in this case, let's say that all I want to do is maybe create just another parameter. So creating param2 and putting a comment. This is a bug fix. Yaniv. I'm compiling the object in the database, testing my application, and once everything is stable and I'm happy with the change I made, I can check that that change in. Once the object is checked in, DMSRO keeps revisions of these objects, and they are based for the reference that I mentioned. So going forward, this repository is used for the next validations. So essentially, now I can initiate a build. That build is going to take the changes that I've introduced to the version control and produce a script. That script is then placed into the release process as a release candidate. In this process, an agent took that job and has created the information. The job is completed, and essentially now I have a new package that is ready for release. Let's take the awaiting packages, the awaiting scripts, and bundle them into version number 2. So I'm going to add that these scripts. One of them would be the change that I just made. Let's review that. DMSRO has automatically created a script that says create or replace the comment that I just made, etc. So this is ready. I have a drop command and a new script that needs to be released. So this is version v2.0. Let's upgrade. Let's now push it to our integration environment. I can pull down from the list the candidates for release because this environment has actually not been updated with version 2. And again, the job would be placed in the queue. One of the agents would pick it up and start running it. As you can see, that was quite quick because actually this release has failed. It has failed because I've actually violated a policy. There's a policy in place saying I can't drop tables. So obviously I cannot drop the table that I tried to drop, and let's remove it from the package so we can continue with the process. So in this case, I'm taking the drop command out, and we'll continue with the scripts. Again, these scripts can be something that your developers are creating or your DBAs. You don't have to work with our source control, so this could definitely come in once development has concluded. I'll reapply that upgrade to the first environment, and this time, of course, that would succeed as I'm not violating the policy. The interesting thing is that while this is happening, DMSRO creates behind the scenes labels before and after the release. So that v2.0 pre label would essentially be the reference for all the other releases. So when I want to make sure that a release is successful or the next environment is ready to accept that release, this is exactly what we're going to use in order to make sure that it does. So that release has already concluded. I can view that from inside. I can view that through the log. I can actually look at the environment and see what successful deployments I had and the different packages that were part of each release. So now that I have version 2.0 in my integration environment, Essentially, I can go to the database and make sure it's actually there, but of course it would be. So let's just pick the database, procedures, and I think I changed this one. Yes. So I had the second parameter and a comment. So that's perfectly in, and let's continue with our release. So now essentially we had our QA team, our product managers all gave their blessing, and we are starting to push this forward to full-blown testing, and I'm upgrading my next two QA environments with that release. Essentially, I'm triggering this manually because I want to show you how the process works. If we automate that through Jenkins or something like that, it would just the demo would end too quickly, and I'm doing this manually, so just can go through the process itself. So this time, the process actually goes through upgrading the environments. These separate QA environments were actually defined as environments that can be deployed individually and separately. That means that in this case, environment QA number 1 was updated successfully, but QA number 2 essentially has a problem. That problem is that it has a drift, and we can see that drift in the report. Okay, so I'll open up that report. We can see that it says that object validation has failed, and if I look at the log, I'll be able to see exactly what object is deviating from the expected configuration. On the coming release, we'll be able to also view the differences themselves. Just for this, for the sake of this demo, I'll just look at what's actually in the database, not this one. That one. I look at what's actually in the database and understand why the change is essentially rejected. So in here I have a package that was updated. It says this is a hotfix for bug, whatever. It was probably tested in this testing environment, but essentially that means that the database was not ready to accept this release v2 because it has different configuration. I could use dbMaestro to essentially override this if it makes sense, or roll that environment back, or integrate the change back into our development environments. But essentially, these are different ways to solve the problem. I'll now deploy the changes to our production environment, but as you can see, production is a bit behind. It doesn't have version 1.5 or 2.0. Essentially, I can have two modes to the system, to each project, which either collects all of previous deployments or just one by one. So I can say, in this case, it's configured to collect everything. So if I'm running version 2.0, it knows that version 1.5 still needs to be deployed, so it would deploy both. I can change the behavior of a project to just run specifically what's required. This job has failed as well. Let's look at the log and see the reason for that. That's not wrong. I need to refresh it. It has failed, and I see that it actually has dbMaestro has prevented me from moving forward because this environment requires updating only at nighttime. So I'm unable to essentially issue changes or issue rollouts to production midday. So this being a demo, let's just change the time of our server. Of course, this is not something that you would be able to do in a real production scenario. But in this case, let's change 2 p.m. to be 2 a.m. of tomorrow. And of course, as time passes, I need to relog in again. And let's rerun this. Now that the time says it's 2 a.m., of course, I'll be able to push that upgrade up. Again, I'll run both updates, and again, a job is placed into the queue. It's picked up by one of the agents, and you can put as many agents as you want for load balancing, for load sharing, or for any other purpose. And essentially that job has been deployed. I can always zoom into and see the full history of each release. I can do any of the actions that I just did from an automated process. So create builds with just this command, create upgrades or downgrades with another, and essentially everything is perfectly controllable from any other CI/CD tool. DMaestro keeps track again of all of the different packages that were deployed, and at the end of the day, it needs a connection string to connect to a database, nothing more than that. While a perfect release was executed, actually on the background, everything was audited. So we have a lot of information about all of the changes, and we can see a full log of every action that happened. So we always know who did what, when, and why. I mentioned users and permissions. We can set the different users, create roles. So a user might have the role to release things to a QA environment, or might have the organizational role to be an admin of the system, to be a project viewer who might only see what version is released in each environment, or a release manager that might be able to run releases but not change any of the settings that a project admin would. So we have a lot of roles that can be configured, and essentially each project is exposed based on organizational rights. So this person will only be able to see a single project and not others. So I can always see my projects. I can set several of my projects to be favorites of mine, and then I can look at the insights and see how projects are behaving. I can see what failures I had, what drifts I might have, so deal with changes before they become an issue, and of course what is successful. We can see success versus failure rate and compare different projects. This new dashboard is about to be implemented before DMaestro would issue its next release, so this is coming shortly as well. I hope this all made sense, and thanks a lot for listening.